Hey guys, in this video I'm going to be doing a live walkthrough of how to build a high converting two-step email pop-up for your e-commerce brand in Omnisend. Now before I dive into Omnisend and just start making the pop-up, I'm actually going to go through some theory so you actually understand why I'm making it a certain way and what makes a good high converting two-step pop-up form. So who am I? I am Sodik Patel. If you don't know, the founder of Omra Digital. We help e-commerce brands generate money through email and SMS marketing, and all my links will be in the description. So quickly, what's covered in this video? So I'm going to be talking about why you need an email pop-up form. And you might think that's basic, but I've seen plenty of big brands who actually don't have email pop-up forms in place. So then we have one-step form versus two-step forms. A lot of brands have one-step forms, and that's actually hurting their opt-in rate. And I'm going to explain why two-step forms are much better. Then I'll show you an example of a good two-step form. And then I'm going to be breaking down the anatomy of a two-step form, so actually explaining all the different components involved. Then I'm going to show you which parameters you need to actually set, such as the trigger. Many brands get this wrong as well, and then who to actually show the form to. And then finally, we're going to jump into Omnisend, and I'm going to go through a live build out from scratch that includes the copywriting of the form and the design in Omnisend. And just to show you what we're working towards, I'm going to put the final pop-up design on screen right now so you can see. So let's get straight into it. Why do you need an email pop-up form? So if you're running an e-commerce brand, your list is one of your most valuable assets. This is because you don't own your social media followers. Your ad costs are constantly rising. So an email pop-up is the primary engine to capture that traffic that you acquire through paid ads or organic traffic. So it allows you to build an audience that you own. You can nurture those relationships through email and SMS marketing. And as a result of that, drive repeat purchases and just generate demand for your product without having to pay another platform every time you want to speak to your customers. So long story short, you can make more money without spending more money on paid traffic. So why is a two-step form better than a one-step form? So traditional one-step forms ask for an email address immediately, and this creates friction. It feels like a transaction before you even establish any value. Now, a two-step form changes this psychology entirely, and this is because in a two-step form, you start with a simple button called a micro commitment with no input fields, and this lowers the barrier to entry. And then once a user clicks, they have subconsciously committed to the process. Now, this leverages something called the Zeigarnik effect. People are far more likely to finish a task, aka entering their email, once they have already started it. So here's an example of a two-step form. We've got step one, which shows the offer with no email collection, and it's just got a simple button called claim discount. Then we've got step two, which shows the follow-up screen asking for the email address. So that's literally a two-step form. Now, typically a one-step form will just look like this, where you have the email capture straight away. And because of the reasons I said, you'll get much more of a higher conversion rate if you break it up into two steps with a micro commitment. Now, notice how the first step is entirely focused on the offer and getting a simple click. There's no typing required yet. Now, the second step is where the actual email capture happens. But because we've got this first step, we've got the micro commitment, the user is already primed to complete the second step. So now we go into the anatomy of a two-step form. Step one. The goal of step one is purely just to get click. We remove all the friction. And so there are 5 different elements that I like to add in step one. So we've got the brand logo, and this is a simple version of the brand's logo to make the pop-up look professional and on-brand. Then we've got the image, and this is a simple, high-quality lifestyle or product image that represents the brand. So as you can see in this example below, you've got the simple logo, and you've got the image on the left. Now the offer, or the heading, is this piece of text here. It should be very clear, and it should provide undeniable value for the user. So an example of this is unlock 15% off your first order. Now with brands who sell high ticket products, I recommend to have a dollar amount of discount. So instead of saying 15% off or 10% off, you could say get $30 or get $50 off your first purchase. But for brands who have slightly less expensive products, so low ticket items, then percentage discount is the way to go. And you don't always need to add a percentage discount or any type of discount. You could add free shipping. You could give them a lead magnet, which will help them and provide them value. And so this doesn't just have to be a discount offer. Next, we have a positive CTA button. And this button affirms the offer. So you could say, yes, I want 15% off. and you should make this button match the brand's colors like this. And lastly, we've got something called a negative opt-out. So if the user wants to close the form, usually they will look for an X button, and that would typically be in the top right corner. Now, what we want to do is we want to actually break this pattern and make them look for other places to essentially exit the form. And what we do is we give them option right here to exit the form, and it says, no thanks, I hate discounts. So in order to actually physically exit the form, they need to read that. And it just creates some slight psychological friction before they decline, because no one really uh, hates discounts or hates saving money. And so they're far more likely to not exit the form this way. Now we've got step 2. So they've clicked on the first step. Now we need to collect the email. And the friction is gone because they've already agreed to the premise of getting this discount. So they're not going to stop now, or far less of them are going to stop now. So in this one, we've got the brand logo the same, we've got the image the same for consistency. And next we've got a new heading. So this persuasion heading is just to remind them that they're almost done and they're just like one step away from getting this discount. So that's literally the wording you can use. So you can say you're only one step away. And in this example, because it's a makeup brand, you can sort of personalize it a bit. You can say you're one blink away. If you sell something, consumable products like food, you can say you're one bite away. Get creative with it. And next we've got the email input field. This is just to collect the email address. Keep it very simple. Don't add any other steps any other captcha forms like first name, last name, SMS. For each step, you just want to keep it simple and have the user focus on one thing. And so for this one, we're just going to say email address. Finally, we've got the CTA, and the CTA should be action oriented, and it should affirm that once they click this, they're actually going to get their discount. So something like send my discount or get 10% off. And then the exit button, we've got the negative opt-out in step 1. Now, just to add some more psychological friction, we want to move this exit button again so that they don't see it twice. And this time you can actually just put the small X back in the corner. And this will just create more friction and make them think, oh, where's the exit button gone again? And it's optional. You can either keep that negative opt-out as it was, or you can add this. But I like to add this. So now you know all the components of what to put in a two-step email form. Let's go over the actual settings and triggers. So a great form shown at the wrong time can still fail. So that means you need the right parameters to maximize conversions without ruining the user experience. So number 1, we've got the trigger. Now you want to set the pop-up to appear after 4 seconds of the user landing on your website. This gives the user just enough time to understand the site that they're on, but catches them right before they bounce or they exit. And immediate pop-ups are annoying, and anything later than 4 to 6 seconds is too late, and the exit intent of the user is too high at that point. So next, who to show it to. You want to target new visitors only. Don't show this pop-up form to people who have already subscribed, as they're already on your email list, so there's no point, or who have already made a purchase, because that way they would be on your email list anyway. And just another thing about the trigger, you always want to set a time-based delay, such as 4 seconds. You don't want to set any other type of trigger, such as scroll trigger, or if they click a certain thing. Don't do any of that nonsense. I see a lot of brands making this mistake. Just set a simple time delay trigger for this pop-up. So now's the exciting part. I will make a pop-up live for you guys. And there's this brand called Push Gummies. They are really big in the New Zealand area, and they're running about 230 something ads on Meta right now, but they don't have a pop-up, so we're going to make a pop-up for them. And before we actually jump into Omnisend, we're going to actually write out the copy live. So I'm going to do this, and if you have a brand, you could just pause this video, pull up a Google Doc, and write with me. So for this brand, Push Gummies, they sell creatine gummies, and it's a very low ticket price point. So straight away, we know for the header and the offer, we're going to offer a percentage discount to them. So I'm just going to get rid of this and write get 10% off. Actually, I'm going to make it a bit more exciting. We're going to say congrats, you've got 10% off. And then the positive CTA button is going to be very simple, guys. I like to keep things just very simple. Claim discount. And with the offer and with the positive CTA button, it really depends on your brand and what the tone of the brand is. So you can get really creative with this, but my advice is just to keep things simple and see how well it works, and then you can split test different things later. So then we've got the negative opt-out text. We can say, no thanks, I hate discounts. Cool. And then that's all the different variables for step one. Now for the step two copy, we've got the persuasive heading, just to affirm the user that once they do this next step, they're actually going to get this discount. So the first step was actually claim this discount. And then so the next one I'm going to write as get my 10% code, or get my 10% discount. And sorry, but this is supposed to be here in the CTA button. Get my 10% off. And then the persuasive heading is going to be something to affirm them that they're very close to the end. So we can say, because it's a creatine brand, they're targeting, actually, let's pull up this brand in a separate tab so you guys can see. So I've got their website open right now, and as you can see, she's doing yoga and she's got some gym clothes on. So it looks like this brand is targeting athletes and gym goers, etc. So what we're going to do is we're going to take that angle, go back to our Gamma doc, and persuasive heading, we're going to say you are one step away. And that's it, guys. That's how simple it is to write copy for a two-step pop-up. So now that we have the strategy, so we know what triggers to use, we know who to show it to, and we have the copy, now let's actually jump into Omnisend and actually build this two-step form live. I'm actually an Omnisend partner, guys. So if you sign up with my link in the description, you will get a discount on your first few months. And if you actually work with me, we can actually put you onto the Omnisend Partner Program membership, and you guys will get an even bigger discount. So now I'm in Omnisend. What you want to do is on the left-hand sidebar, you want to go to Forms, and we're going to go to View Other Form Types. And once you click View Other Form Types, you will land here, and we're going to select Multi-Step Form, and we just want to work off the existing templates and just make our life a lot easier. So you see this email capture micro AS multi-step form. We click on that, and this will take us to the form builder page. And the first thing we want to do now is just make sure we get all our copywriting into this form. So let's edit the heading. Let's go back to our Gamma doc, see what was our heading. Congrats, you've got 10% off. So let's do that right now. I'm going to keep this all capitals. And then the button we had as claim discount. So let's do that. And then the negative opt-out text we had was, no thanks, I hate discounts. Cool. So now we've got the copy in for step one. I'm going to do the same thing for step two. So as you can see at the bottom, we've got the different steps, and we're just going to write that. So in step two, this was the copy, you're one step away. So let's double click on this and paste in our text. And then this final CTA button, get my 10% off. Let's put that as the button text. And boom, that's it. You want to keep this email capture form box just the way it is. It's fine. And this, subscribe to our newsletter and get 10% off. I prefer to delete this, and I'll explain why in just a second. Now what we want to do, go back to step one at the bottom here, and you see this exit button. What we want to do is click on it and untick this box, so it actually disappears this button so we don't see it. because we already have an exit button to our form right here. So now that we've got everything in place, one thing I want to mention is the legal consent. In some countries, this depends where you are, but in Europe, you've got GDPR, and in other places, you'll have different legal rules about marketing and collecting emails. And so, what you could do if you're in one of those areas, there is this item called legal consent. What you can do is drag this into your form right here, and it's a little tick box to say to get the customer to tick so that they actually consent to marketing. Okay, now we've got all of our elements that we need for a two-step form actually in our form builder. Now it's time to actually edit the form and make it look good and on brand with our website push gummies. So the first thing I'm going to do is change all the colors and get a nice image in. Now it's important to mention that for a desktop form and a mobile form, you want two separate forms. You don't want to be showing the same thing because number one, we want the mobile form to be optimized for mobile, and we want the desktop version to be optimized for desktop. And number two, we want to make sure that we can track the data for each type of form differently. And that's why all we're going to do at the end of this is create another version for mobile. So this one is going to be desktop only. So I'm going to go over to visibility on the right hand side and just select desktop only. And that's it. So now I'm going to go in and change all the colors to match my brand. Now I've got this Chrome extension, guys, which lets me pick the hex code of any website's colors. So I just select that, and now just like that, it's copied onto my clipboard, and so I can change the color of this button. So I'm going to go onto this button, go to layout, and it's got this background color. I'm just going to paste my hex code in. So I'm going to select this button. I'm going to go over to button settings right here. And as you can see, this is showing as a primary button. So what we're going to do is we're going to click that and change this background color, give it my hex code. As you can see, it hasn't selected the right color. So we're going to go back into here and make sure that this red color is selected. Find it somewhere else on the website, right there. Now that's selected the pink one again. Let's keep trying. There we go. So now that hex code is copied, let's go back to button settings and paste that right in. And now what we want to do is we want to make this button less visible because we don't want them to actually exit our form. So we're going to get rid of this outline and make it blend in with the background. Before we do that, as you can see in step 2, we've got our primary button changed, so that's good. So now let's go on to the second button, which is the secondary button right here, and we want to get rid of the outline. So this border width, we just change to 0, and that gets rid of the border. So boom, that's all you have to do. Now for the colors, more often than not, I prefer having a light pop-up. I think it looks much better than dark. So what we're going to do is put a light background on this. So we're just going to go to here and select white. And then that means we'll have to change the color of this text. And this color, I'm going to choose to match the branding on the website. So as you can see, we've got this nice dark purple here. So I'm going to select that, and it's still selected the red. So we're going to go back to our website, make sure that's copied to the clipboard. There we go. And let's do the same on the step 2. There we go. So in order to change the color for the legal text, we make sure we have it selected. You can scroll down, go to field settings, and then we've got different styles. We've got the text color. Let's make sure we paste that in, and label color, paste our hex code in, and we are good to go. Now let's go back to the heading because I think this font really doesn't match our brand all too well. So let's add a bit of boldness to it. So we're going to go to text style and heading large. Nope, that doesn't do it. We're going to go to try and make it bold. Might need a different font to make that happen. I'm going to try Poppins. No, I don't like that. Anton seems like a good font, so we're gonna center align this, and now everything's center aligned. I'm gonna change the button text to white because I think black looks a bit weird. Yeah, that looks much better. And next thing I'm gonna do is change the field color to white because I think this yellow, actually I kind of like the yellow, but we're going to make it more consistent with our brand. So I'm just going to select this light red or light pink that we have going on and go back to field settings and just add that in as the background color. And that looks much more on brand. So let's go back to step one and let's just repeat everything we've done. So I'm going to select the font that we used. What font did we use? Anton. So let's go back. And let's make that bold and center align it. There we go, that looks much better. Now, because we changed the background color, we need to now change the secondary button to match in with the background. So go back to button settings, and for the background color, just change it to white. And there we go. And we're also going to change the text color. So for text color, let's do black, and that should be perfect. So as you can see from the examples that we saw in the Gamma doc, this is looking a lot closer. And the last thing we have left to do is just add in the logo and add in the image. So in order to add in the logo, I'm just gonna input a image field. So just from the left, drag it in here. So what we do is we just take the logo from the website, and I've already done that beforehand. And so we just simply just upload the transparent version into Omnisend here. So there we go. And let's just resize it to make it a bit smaller. We don't want it to be center of attention, but we just want to include it in our branding. And there we go. And we want to do the same in step two just for continuity. So let's add the image here, select file, upload the logo and make it smaller again. And so there, as you can see, it looks a lot better with the logo. Now, the next thing we're going to do is make sure we change the image. So I'm going to go back to the website to find a good image to use for this. And I quite like this one. So it's not letting me copy the images from the website. So what I'm going to have to do is just use the snipping tool again. And I'm just going to take this image like that and save it to my own area. So let's go back into Omnisend and just upload this image. So go and replace and just replace it with that image. As you can see, that looks very good. And it's appeared in step two as well. So that is it for making the desktop version of this form. Now, before we actually move into making the mobile version, I am just going to quickly run through all the different settings that we need to change. So audience management, we want to make sure it's form subscriber. So anyone that does subscribe to this form, we'll tag them with this, and we'll also tag them with the actual pop-up that we used, which is this one. And we can change this after we rename the form. Now we do not want to enable double opt-in, and we don't want to enable reCAPTCHA because this will just add more friction to the form. So then scheduling, always available, unless you want to schedule it for a later date, which I don't see why you would do that. Then display, the amount of time that needs to pass, this will be the trigger, and so we'll set that to 4 seconds. So as you can see, there's different types of triggers. We've got page visits, we've got scroll depth and exit intent. So ignore all of those and just set a time delay trigger to 4 seconds. And let's go back. So now we are on to targeting, and so visitor targeting options. And so we want to target people that have not signed up to our list or are not on our list already. And so for this option, we want to target don't show to existing contacts. And that's it. So we've got other page targeting options. Don't worry about this, you can ignore this. Location targeting, you can customize different forms to show in different locations. We're not going to do that. Source targeting, you can customize different pop-ups for the source of traffic that the user has come from. Again, you don't need to do that unless you're like a massive brand making like tens of millions a month. And that's it for the targeting. Next, we've got to visibility. Again, we've already selected desktop here. Next, we have frequency, and this is the amount of times that your pop-up will be shown to non-subscribers. And there's two things to keep in mind here. If someone accidentally closes your form, but really wanted to opt in again, we have to show that form, right? Otherwise, we lose that lead. And number two, we don't want to keep showing the form in the same session when someone has said no. So we have to set a time limit. So if we set a time limit of 30 minutes, what this means is if someone closes your form, your website will not show this pop-up again within 30 minutes of that happening. So that means in that 30 minutes, that visitor can do whatever they want on your website with no interruptions. And if they wanted to opt into that form after that 30 minutes, it will get shown to them again. And lastly, we've got A/B test, and this is split testing your form. Now, we're not going to go into that today because today is just about making your first form and getting that live. That's the most important thing. And so those are all the settings that we need to keep in mind. And lastly, we have the success page. And this success page, all you want to do is make it branded to your site again. So what we're going to do quickly, I'm going to pause this video and just unpause it when I've made those edits. All I'm going to do is literally change the background color and the text. I'm going to do the same with the subscribed page here. And this is the form variant. And this is the form variant that the user will see once they try to subscribe to your form again, but they've already subscribed before. And this is just in case if your website shows this form to them again. So these are what all the different steps look like. And now you're ready to just enable the form and you're good to go. Now, this is for desktop. Now for mobile, what we want to do is actually close this, set up a new form, and the only thing that's going to be different is perhaps the layout to make it more optimized for mobile and the visibility in order to show it on mobile only. We're going to select that. And so what we're going to do is I'm just going to press save and close, and I'm going to press create a new form. And for the mobile version, what we're going to do is we're going to select this type of form where the image is actually above. And so this is a bit more optimized for mobile, as you'll see. And so what we do here is literally the same thing, replace the image, and we're going to add the logo. With this image for the mobile version here, obviously the one I've selected isn't really showing up too well, and you can just swap out the image for whatever you want. But for the tutorial's sake, I'm just going to leave it as is. So we've added back the logo, and we're just going to keep the text and copy how it is because I've already shown you how to write the copy and we've done it in step one. All you can do is just repeat all those steps to change the rest of the form. Again, we want to make sure we get rid of this close button, and you want to disguise this exit button a little better by removing the border. And again, we add in our logo here by dragging in the image from the left-hand side. So as you can see, guys, all of this is just a repeat of what we've done before. So I'm not going to go ahead and change every little thing that we did, but this is just to show you that's how you make the desktop version, and this is the mobile version. And make sure that it's really important that you select mobile only this time. So once you've gone and done that, make sure all the other settings on the right hand side are the same, and then you can press enable form and you'll be done. So that's all there is to making a two-step form on Omnisend for your brand, and I've made it for this Push Gummies brand, and I will see you in the next Omnisend tutorial.